So a little boy is going through one of the family Bibles that belonged to his grandmother, and he's just going through all the pages, and he's just kind of fascinated. It was one of those that has the pictures, and he was just really into it. And as he flipped some of the pages, this big crinkled up leaf falls down, and he went like, "What is that?" And he said, I found something in the Bible." And his grandmother said, "Well, honey, what is it?" And he said, "I think it's Adam's prayer." He was coming from what he had been told. And he was coming from an experience that he had had and that he had experienced from someone else. That is true for all of us in our individuation of what we are created to be, is that more often than not, we go with what we have been told, or with what someone said, or somebody else's experience. That is the beauty of our season when we talk about the Christ being born, is what is lying dormant, awaiting to be born within you. What part of your awakening, what part of your consciousness can rise up because you've had an epiphany, because you're using your own minds, because you're looking at life from a place of being at peace. You see, more often than not, so many people just go and do, and they just go on automatic pilot, right? Their DNA, doing, never asking. Their DNA, doing, never asking. Rather than stepping back and saying, is this mine to do? Is this what I am supposed to be a part of? How can I contribute to this? Maybe I need to step back. Maybe this is someone else's to do. In cause and effect, when we talk about peace begins right here and right now, we're talking about in this moment now, a declaration that peace begins right here and right now. It's okay if you want to join me, we're online. There are people here. Peace begins right here and right now. And you feel that. The very part of you saying it, your cells and everything start lining up to fit that reality of peace beginning right here and right now. Yes? Yes. It's like the story that was stated of, I went out in the world wanting to bring peace. And then I realized that I needed to come back to my community and bring peace. And then I realized I needed to come to my family and bring peace. And then most importantly, I learned that I needed to come back home inside myself and find peace. Because when I find peace, then everybody else will know peace, because I'm coming from what I know instead of forcing something to happen outside of myself that I do not know, right? So that's that part that we discover within ourselves. Francis Collins, he was the director of the National Institutes of Health, and he said at his high school commencement, he said at the end of one of the speeches, someone said, "Will you pursue your spiritual life all the days of your life, or will you wait until some disease knocks on your door, or will you wait until you are a more aged person and then try to do the crash course?" And he said that he lived long enough to recognize that was the most important question for anyone to ever ponder. Yes, in that particular space and in that particular energy. Reverend Richard, as you know, does hair, okay? And he does it really well. And I started noticing, though, that when I would go to him, that, you know, when he would do my hair with a certain way and the brush and everything, I would just be so happy with it. But then I would get home and have to wash it another time, and I just couldn't make it do all that, you know, stuff. And I would look at him do the dryer a certain way and how he turned it and everything and rolled it around. And I'd do my hair that way. It just wouldn't turn out. So I went this past time, and follow me. I know my hair is not that more important to you, but just stay with me. Okay. And so I went to him and I said, I am determined, and I'm going to watch everything you do so that I can do this like you. And so I'm watching him and everything, and I noticed he put a product in my hair that I was not using. And I said, what is that? And he says, it's Lado. No, Richard said, it's Lado. I said, Lado. Well, I think I have it, but I'm going to see. So I got home. I was so excited because I had Lado. And put it in my hair, and it did just like he does it. And I went, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And what's the point? The point is, it's always about having the tools to use. It's always about you can do anything anybody else can ever do. You've just got to have the tools or the learning of what they have if you want to model what it is that they do. And if you don't want to model the people you keep talking about, then you want to not do what they're doing and unlearn that, you see. And so many of us, and it especially comes up this time of year because we awaken the little child wonder and we become very childlike. Here's a clue during this season. Don't do sugar. Right? Don't do sugar. I know. 3 people aren't doing it because they laughed. I know. So anyway, because we start having this emotional stuff come through, and you want to be aware of it, and you want to be mindful of it, and you want to be aware that these emotions are out here until you bring them in here. Are you with me? Everything in your life is by invitation only. Say that with me. By invitation only. So unless you invite Mr. and Mrs. Stress to come live in your house, they don't have to live here. Unless you invite melodrama, drama into your house, it does not have to make it more of an important Christmas because you feel the drama. Okay? There's the other thing that happens with us in our humanity is often all is well. And it's been so well for so long that you start like looking around like I'm anticipating, what do they say, the shoe's going to drop, the sky's going to fall, something's going to happen. But it's not necessary. So watch that in your patterning. As Myrtle Fillmore would say, we all want peace and joy and love. We all want that. But we want to be aware when we're celebrating the Christ being born in us that we want to be mindful of it's necessary to let go of some of those old patterns or some of those things that's taking up space. Yes? And our energy. Gandhi would read the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, as well as the Quran at the same time. He said, I am a Jew, I am a Muslim, I am a Hindu, and I am a Christian. He said, peace on earth is easy for me because I don't get into all that. I don't get into all that. I don't look at, well, I'm different than you and you're different than me. People are funny. They say, oh, I like gay people. As long as my child isn't, or, oh, I'm not a racist, but, as long as I don't run into people I don't know at the grocery store or on the street. No, it's about all the time, all the way, releasing that energy field of acceptance, One time I wrote, be original, because originality leads to confidence. Confidence leads to self-esteem. Self-esteem leads to inclusiveness. Inclusiveness leads to peace. Right? Because we are embracing it all. And if you like scripture for the holiday season in Ephesians, it says it very clearly. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient. Big word, capital P, be patient. Bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of spirit through the bond of peace. There's only one body. There's one spirit. There's one creator. We're all one. We all bleed the same color. We are one. There you go. Yes, to hold that. One of the things as far as the practice is very important to realize. It's like we live our lives more often than not, people are practicing at life. I'm just going to go out and practice life today. I'm going to do the best I can do. Give it my best shot. I'm going to practice it. And based upon what happens to me, I'm going to write a principle about it. Yes. Every guy I've met online is not reliable. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. Those people, that you just can't depend on them anymore. Yeah. Who says $1 won't buy much anymore? Because it doesn't. Well, I love it when people want to give me something, but they always want something from me. There's no free. You see the principles? I mean, it's funny. I know you can laugh. It's not any of you. I'm talking to your relatives, okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every time I really put myself all into something, I get disappointed. I'm so disappointed. Disappointment means you have an appointment somewhere else. Get real. Get real. Okay? Get real. But we practice life and we write principles about it, and then it becomes our experience. Okay? Where you want to come from is you want to not sacrifice your principles, not even on a special occasion. You want to have principles. Life is for me. As Louise Hay would say, life loves me, right? You want to have principles that say there's always enough. No one can ever take my good away from me. Even if they took it, they'd bring it back because it wouldn't fit, but just me, right? Life is always celebrating me because I celebrate my life. I am rejoicing in what life can be. Are you following me? Those are principles. Those are principles. And then when you're out practicing, then you're guided by that. And anything that is unlike that isn't going to stick because you don't have on that like-minded Velcro. So it's not going to stick onto you. You're just going to keep on walking and you're never going to notice that even it came your way. Are you with me? I know it's the gold pants. I can't help it. Okay. So what am I going to do? Okay. Somebody else dressed me this morning. Principle, practice, equal experience. Yes. Not practice, equal experience. I write principles. No. Right. The other part that I find very helpful is that it's important to be a follow-through person. If you tell somebody you're going to do something because you're the one that volunteered the information, do it. If you're not going to do it, don't volunteer for it. Because that's it's become like a great credential in life when you follow through. Because it's becoming more rare than it ought to be, okay? Yeah. And so my new principle is everybody follows through. Okay? And so you want to be a follow-through person, and if you say you're going to call, if you're going to come by, whatever that is, whatever it looks like, you're going to participate, show up, sign your name to something, follow through with it, because what happens is it becomes like computer windows running on your computer. After a while, when you have so many windows open, what happens? Crashes. Yeah, wears down. Battery, got to plug in. That's true for us in our humanity. Is that when you have all these windows running, oh, I forgot to call Billy Joe, and I told her I would, and I forgot to do that, and I remembered I got to go here, and got to run this. It's just all of that, okay? So it's very important. The other thing is that do not gossip. Don't gossip. Don't talk about people. Don't ever stoop to that level. If you're talking about them, be willing to tell them what you said. Yes. It's very freeing when you don't do that anymore. And if you're with somebody, because I do mention this sometimes in my talk, so if somebody's in my office and I do mention somebody, I say, just be clear, I've already talked to them about this, or I'm going to tell them. But don't gossip about anybody, whether you're related to them or not. Don't gossip. It's another energy zapper. What I think is also important this time of year is that when you make your to-do list, and I know some of you do it on Sunday during the music because I've seen you, but I'm like, whatever. Just be sure that you put you on the list. Okay, so here's your typical to-do list for the day, all right? And you want to make sure that you put you right on top. What would be a blessing for you? And you want to take a photo with me like that? Okay. Thank you. All right. Gosh, I'm playful. Somebody's expressing through me today. It might be Corey, I don't know. But that's real important, because fill your love bucket first. So you're not coming from an empty cup, like the woman at the well was seeking, coming from a full cup. So what you give away is a place of abundance and plenitude and life and energy, you see. It's real important. Eleanor Roosevelt said, it's one thing to talk about peace, but what we want to do is make sure that we believe peace exists. And it even takes more than believing peace exists. It takes the willingness to work towards it and to work on it, a real important reality. There were two brothers that were known in a town, this is many years ago, and they were known that they were stealing sheep. And so they were caught and they were punished, and part of the punishment was that they were branded on their forehead, ST, sheep thieves. And so they had this big ST branded on their forehead. Everywhere they would go, people go, what is that? Well, one brother moved to another country altogether, but he still carried that energy everywhere he went of shame and guilt and feeling bad. And he just never turned into anything because he held that space. While another brother said, that's what I did. That's what happened. That's what took place. I did the best I could. At the time I did it, I'm regretful, but it's not taking another day of my life. And so therefore, years passed, the man aged, somebody came through town and said, what is that ST on that man's forehead? And the guy said, I don't remember why it happened. I think it's the abbreviation for saint. You see, peace begins with me means I lived that idea already. I gave it all I had. It is behind me. It's not in front of me, as Suzanne Giesemann said last week, unless I decide to keep putting it in front. So the story you tell is the story that you are, And so it's about that and that particular connection. So an out-of-towner was driving his car and went into the ditch. Fortunately for him, a local farmer was coming down the road with his big old horse, Buddy. And so the farmer takes his horse and the chain and pulls it up to the car. And the farmer says, Nellie, pull. No movement. Coco, pull. No movement. Buster, pull. No movement. And finally the farmer said, Buddy, pull. And the horse pulls the car right out of the ditch. Well, the guy was watching the whole thing and he went, I'm just curious. Thank you, first of all, but I'm curious. Why did you call your horse by the wrong name 3 times? He said, well, here's the thing. Buddy's blind. And if he thought he was pulling this car all by himself, he would have not done it. All right? You aren't doing this alone. You're not doing it by yourself. You have all of us here, accountable, ready to go, because peace begins with us right here and right now. Bless you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you.